Hey, what's going on, people? This is the Corner Store Podcast. Subscribe, like, comment, and share the content. You find us on YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iTunes. Back for another one. We got Rob and Chief Bull. How you doing, man?
Hey, you doing it?
Man, I had a long day, man. I've gotten 2 shots. I got the booster and the flu shot. So it's gonna be a matter of time before I start to kind of like feel the effects as far as like the extreme fatigue. But I feel good right now. But I'm pretty sure in like another hour or two, I'll be out of it. So I had like a little energy to even get through this. So that's
That's
why I
good.
was trying to contact you, man.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna talk about today about how I almost got sent to Pakistan as a missionary.
Yes, we briefly touched on it on like a previous conversation, how you mentioned how your dad almost sent you out there. My question to you back then was it a religious mission trip or was it some type of punishment? So you could kind of elaborate on that.
No, it wasn't a punishment. Like basically the way that we were raised was to keep us away from all the wolves per se.
Hmm.
So we spent a lot of time at the mosque. Um, I people can be offended they want to, but this is my truth, and this is how I feel about how I was brought up. Um, the Pakistani missionaries used to always tell my father how they thought that I was gonna make a good missionary, and they were looking for people who spoke English but could also learn how to speak Urdu and Arabic. But from the time I was 10 up until I was probably about 15, I used to spend a lot of time at the mosque in the library with the missionaries, my father, and uh, they were trying. Well, they were teaching us Arabic. So I tell people all the time, as an American Muslim growing up in this country, it's very difficult to learn how to speak and write English from left to right, but then you're learning how to speak and write Arabic from right to left. So I had a problem with that. I had a problem with reading and math. I've never been a good math person, but they thought that I was going to be a good missionary one day. It didn't work out that way, but that was the plan. So,
You
you
never
know,
made it out there, so how do you know that how it would have turned out, but you never even went out there?
because I had difficulties, I had learning disabilities when I was younger. So, I mean, even though I could have been a good religious and spiritual person, um, I didn't want to be. I definitely didn't want to go to Rabwa, Pakistan, and spend 4 years there around a whole bunch of Pakistanis that I didn't know, trying to figure out what they're talking about.
Okay, so let me ask you this. This is gonna be a funny question, all right?
Yeah,
So if you would have been out there for 4 years, from literally from what, 18 to 22?
yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so you would have been heavily into your studies, but as far as the leisure time, would have had like an abundance of like Middle Eastern women to kind of like pick from or run through?
Um, well, I mean, as far as I know, they don't run through women there,
You
but
know?
I don't know. I ain't never been there. but you know, the whole thing about and it's not just Islam. It's Christianity. It's Judaism. It's all of them. I mean, when I was in Okinawa, we had Buddhist monks that were there. You
Yeah,
know,
but you're not going to Pakistan as a monk. You
well,
going for like a different reason.
no, they wanted you to be a monk.
Yeah, but that wasn't mandated. So like during your leisure time, if you was to choose to kind of like I guess have some fun, was
Where
that
in
yeah?
Pakistan?
I'm saying, like, are we talking about rural Pakistan, or like we're talking about of the heavily populated Pakistan?
I mean, even the heavily populated Pakistan, I mean, it's not like they got nightclubs and liquor stores on every corner like in America, or or any other type of. I mean, as far as I know, their leisure time is spent praying and sports and other stuff like that. But I mean, I don't know what they do now, but I know when I would have went over there, none of that would have been going on.
No,
No, it
not
wasn't
back
like
then.
just, pick of the litter. You can have these four women, and all. It's not always like that. Um, like I said, I don't know Pakistan because I've never been there, but I do know Pakistanis that were from there, and a lot of times they influenced my father and other black men in the movement to teach us to be more like Pakistanis than Americans.
Okay, so were they leaned heavily on conservatism?
Very much so, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's the pillars of Islam. Praying 5 times a day. I mean, the reason why Muslims pray 5 times a day, a lot of people don't know this. It's because you commit sin within those time periods. So you're constantly praying to God, asking for forgiveness. At least that's what I got from it growing up. Um,
So praying 5 times a day, is it like specific times that you have to do it by, or you could kind of like be free flowing as long as you get your 5 prayers in throughout the day. It really don't matter what time of day it is, right?
no, it definitely matters.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
that was another thing that it's. I got a friend of mine out in L.A. I'm not going to say his name, but I'll let him know that I mentioned him. But we used to go out to these camps or these camping areas as young men. They called us Otfalls, and we had to go out there and learn how to pray. We had to learn how to hunt. Um, but one thing they used to do is they had this term. It's called Hayya la Salat, like get up. It's time for prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's early in the morning. It's called Fajr prayer, and it's sometimes 5, 6 in the morning. So you wake up out of your sleep to pray, and then some people go back to sleep, and other people that's when they start their day. Like for my father, that's when he started his day, when he would wake up for Fajr prayer.
And what
And then,
time of day is that?
like I said, it could be 5:30, 6 o'clock. It all depends on when the sun's rising, because you have to say this prayer before the sun rises. So,
Okay.
so there's certain times. As a matter of fact, my brother Mahaman used to just go sit in his car and say his prayers because he had certain times he had to do it. So he would, people at the barbershop knew what his prayer time was because he wouldn't be cutting heads during that time. He'd go out in his car and say his prayers. So, the thing about Muslims and praying is you can pray anywhere. If you don't have water, you can use dust to clean yourself.
Mm.
And to me, it's more metaphorically, but um, all I know is that I didn't want to go to Pakistan. I know that I didn't really want to be a missionary. Um, I pursued the medical field because I like taking care of people. Um, so I still had I still had a missionary type mentality. I just didn't want to be a religious missionary. So I consider myself a holistic missionary.
So out in Pakistan, do they exercise daylight savings time just the
I
same way that we do out here?
I don't know. Like I said, the Pakistanis that I met when I was younger, for the most part, um, they encouraged physical discipline, even
Mm-hmm.
though my father never really, physically disciplined us. Um, but they used to tell him all the time, you need to, put the rod on a little bit more. My father would take away privileges, which was worse than getting a spanking.
Now, mind you, like back then, it was before the smartphone, before the internet. So, like, what type of privileges were y'all been sanctioned from like having? So, I mean,
Man,
obviously, I'm sure y'all had video games, right? Y'all had TV.
no, we didn't. No, we weren't allowed to watch video. We weren't allowed to play video games.
Did y'all even have a console in the house?
Heyman got the first, I believe, video game in the house with his
Hmm.
own. Because like in my father's house, he didn't buy us stuff. We had to get our own things.
Okay.
Like
So,
Heyman got the first color TV in the house. Um, but I was the first one to sneak cable into the house after he got the TV. I actually
now,
had to. I actually got my money together and paid the cable people to come and install cable in my bedroom on the set on where my father's sleeping at now. They drilled a hole in that wall and installed HBO for me.
so how long did y'all have cable before he even found out that he had cable running through his house?
A couple months after he got the bill.
Oh, so did he like allow y'all to keep it, or did he just like cut the wire?
Nah, well, he cut it off, but he eventually ended up getting cable anyway.
You
I
know
mean,
what?
I think it was like a $40 charge to have them come and do the install, and
Hmm.
I was working, so I had the money. I just didn't tell him that I was doing it.
Okay. Now,
When he came home and found it.
as far as you not wanting to be a missionary, was that from like you being burnt out from like learning a heavily hard like discipline, new language, as far as writing from right to left and reading from right to left? I mean, they got to be hard on an inner city kid that was like used to learning like a certain type of way, and plus, back then you had to learn the disability, in which you kind of like admitted a few months. I'm sorry, a few minutes ago. But now, as far as like you being burnt out, like was that like a factor as far as why you ain't want to do it?
Well, I mean, from the time we were children, just the teasing. Um, I mean, American kids are brutal. They are very well. Children in general are brutal, but American
Mhm.
kids are really brutal. So you know, we were at a younger age, and here we were in what they call shawals, which is those what you see on TV when all the Afghani men that wear
Mhm.
a two piece. It's like some baggy pants and a shirt, and we'd have to wear that to school.
Y'all had to wear it.
Well, yeah, my mother had us wearing that. My father never made us wear that stuff when we finally moved with him. But my mother she used to make those clothes for people and used to sell them.
Mhm.
And she was making clothes. She made us wear. We was kind of like her models. Like people would check our clothes out and be like, "Oh man, where did you get that from?" My mom made it, or my umi made it. So, but it got so bad, from the teasing and they used to take our little prayer caps off and play keep away with it.
Oh
And
yeah, I mean, we there was like a lot of hazing, back in middle school and primary, secondary grades, and junior high. I mean, everybody got that treatment. So, um, as far as y'all like wearing that type of clothes, that was just a reason for them to even mess with y'all. So there's always different reasons for like why kids get picked on.
yep, and then we all had Islamic names. So like, I
Yeah.
mean, like they didn't even know that we were. Most of the kids didn't even think we were American. They thought we was from overseas somewhere. And my mother used to wear the burqa, so they would tease her. She would wear that, and they call her a witch. And it
Wow.
just things got so bad, with these kids that eventually my mother had to get my father to pay for us to go to karate classes.
Now in Milwaukee, were y'all going to a majority black school?
Nah, it was integrated.
It was integrated. Okay, so
Yeah, we
as
had
far as
kids.
far as biracial kids, what was the percentage of biracial kids? Because I can imagine like back then, y'all were athletes, y'all were on swim teams, and y'all ran track. I mean, y'all were pretty much in shape. So y'all were literally three mini Steph Currys back in the day.
I guess you could call us that. But that was another thing too. My father never came to one of my swim meets, and I was killing them in the water. I used to kill them in the water.
Yeah, that
And
was your white side, right?
I'm not gonna say white side. I mean, I'm just a good swimmer. I mean,
No
my
black folks
my
can
wife,
swim, man.
well, my white mother was a lifeguard.
Mm-hmm.
She taught me how to swim,
Yeah.
and I became a lifeguard. So yeah, I guess so. But I also ran track. Um, back then, actually, I think even now, a lot of Chicago public schools just don't get the real support that they need for their athletes. If you come down to the South, I mean, our high schools are like college. It's like college, stadiums. I mean, and I'm not making that up. I mean, they're huge. And on Friday nights, everybody shows up for all the games. At the school.
And we're
Uh,
talking basketball and football mostly, right?
Football, basketball, swimming, track. I mean, we didn't even have a track at Hyde Park High School. They used to run up and down Stony Island because they didn't have a track to run on. They
Yeah.
got one on the street now, but back then when I went to school, that we didn't have a track. Hell, we didn't have a practice football field. It was the park across the street, which is now going to be part of the uh, Obama Library. Well,
Yeah,
no,
Jackson Park.
actually, I take that back. I heard they moved the track over to across from Hyde Park, and then where further down is where they're building the library at. But man, I'm telling you, if a lot of students in Chicago left Chicago and went to other places, they would probably excel better in the school systems because of the support they have.
I
But
mean,
I don't want to get off track. But I didn't feel like I had a lot of support. But then again, my father was a working man that had to, do what he had to do. But if I would have had more support, I probably would have went down a different route. It wouldn't have been the missionary route.
just to
Uh,
give context, your dad was a single dad raising three boys in the south side of Chi. So yeah, just to kind of give context as far as okay, why he wasn't able to kind of see some of your swim meets.
oh no, I mean I
Right.
know that he couldn't go,
Right.
but one thing I remember is he told me he didn't want to go because I was wearing my swimsuit. Because I was pretty much naked besides my speedo.
Yeah, but that's the actual uniform of a swimmer, right?
You know.
I mean, should like certain things be kind of like immune from the whole Islamic custom,
You know,
especially for kids?
it's getting better now, but that's only because everything is changing now. But back then, oh no, man, did nobody want to go see you half naked with a speedo on, swimming against other guys naked?
Yeah, but
Like,
y'all not naked. Y'all in uniform performing a sport. So
I,
it wasn't just like y'all were just at like a local YMCA on your leisure time just swimming. No, that wasn't the case.
I
You
mean,
was representing your high school.
right? I mean, we used to do that too. But all I'm saying is the mentality of people back then was we shouldn't, like you didn't have little Muslim girls that were running track um, unless their parents just ignored the status quo, if you will. There was some parents that didn't go with the status quo and they wanted their kids to they supported their children in their dreams. Um,
Okay, so out in Pakistan, right? You had mentioned about how had you been out there, you would have been pretty much heavily into the studies, and also on your free time, you probably would have been playing sports. So if they're playing sports out there, and why is it okay to like play sports out there and kind of conform to the to the rules as far as wearing uniforms out there, but over in the States, it was kind of frowned upon. I mean, is
Okay,
that
so
like a fair assessment?
all right, so I went to high school. I started high school in 1984. Back then, hell, even now, how many Pakistani swimmers you got swimming in the Olympics, or people from Mecca, or people from like some countries are changing. Jordan is one of those countries. I love Jordan. Um, Spent a couple weeks there. Got to meet the king. Um, it's funny. I told him I was from the south side of Chicago, and he said he got some cousins up on the north side. Um, but a lot of Islamic countries now are starting to open up to their athletes because they want to be recognized.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I just recently saw a little Muslim woman who's an athlete, and they were talking about her covering, wearing her, covering her face. She had her face exposed, but the rest of her body was covered,
Mm-hmm.
and she's still killing them in track. And they tried to disqualify her because of her garments.
I
You know,
mean,
so
like her
so
garments is like a little bit more weight that she's carrying
right,
versus the other athletes.
right. But see, look. That's what a lot of people do. They see something that they don't understand or don't like, and then they try to make it seem like it's an advantage, and actually, it's a disadvantage. That'd be like me trying to swim it in a swim. I'm sorry, in a jogging suit against guys who are wearing speedos. As soon as I hit the water, I'm going to start sinking. I'm not going to be swimming.
Mm-hmm.
If I can still beat them with a sweatsuit on, and then you're going to disqualify me for that?
Yeah.
What sense does that make? But but like I said, back then, and I'm going to share this video with a lot of my Muslim friends that I grew up with. A lot of them left the movement for a lot of different reasons, but a lot of it was we just didn't feel like we were supported on what we wanted to do. It was oh, parents are very sometimes demanding, and they want you to do, hey, you should be this or you should be that. Like they said, I should be a missionary. I am far from a missionary. Hell,
Mm-hmm.
I am far from a missionary. But um, I did leave I did leave the what they call the right path and went on a whole bunch of wrong paths.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you that by going on those bad paths, that now I'm coming back and I'm going to be telling people the stories of the bad path. Because a lot of these missionaries that were trying to hide things from us and people that were trying to not tell us about the devil and the wolf and talk about, they talk about the sheep. Yeah, you a sheep too. If you don't tell me about the wolf, then you were sheep. But I don't want to be, I don't want to hear about the wolf. Show me the wolf. Which one is a wolf? You know, a lot of the brothers in the movement back then were brand new to it. And before they started having families, they should have learned their religion first because they were trying to learn it at the same time they're trying to raise kids into it. That's like being a born again Christian, and next week you're going to get married and start having kids. You might need to spend a little more time researching your religion before you start getting married and having kids with somebody you don't know. And that happened a lot back then. So, like, I've seen a lot of people leave because, some people wanted to be a doctor. They're like, like,
Mm-hmm.
give the brother a chance. I mean, I got some, you know what? I got some friends of mine now or some past associates who were born Muslim like I was, first generation born Muslim in America, and they all left. And most of them became pretty successful. But
Yeah.
a lot of them did the things that they wanted to do, just like I did. I
Let me
knew I
ask
wanted
you
to
this.
build, but
Is
I joined the community to do it.
Do you think that that racism is a factor when it comes to like Black Muslims and Middle Eastern Muslims, as far as in the Middle East versus here?
Absolutely.
Why is that the case?
I mean, look, man, there's racism everywhere. No one's going to escape racism. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I tell people all the time about the first Muslim who called the azan, the call to prayer, and he was a freed slave from the Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, and his name was Bilal, and he was the first man to get up and call all the brothers to prayer, and I don't think he gets enough credit for that. But they do talk about him being a slave, and that the Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, um, took him out of his slavery bondage. But yet, when I've been around the world, I still see a lot of, I don't care where you go in the world, you're gonna see the same thing. You got rich people, middle class, and poor, and we were on the poor side of that tier at the time. You
Mm,
know, so we pretty much, a lot of people, they did what they were told to do, and they didn't know any better.
okay.
But one thing, it's kind of ironic that we're having this conversation, because at the same time they were teaching us how to be free thinkers. So they were trying to keep us in a box, but be a free thinker inside of a box. That doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well,
here I am in the box trying to get out, and they're saying, "Well, you can be a free thinker, but we still want you to come back and stay in the box, brother." Nah, I can't do. I don't live in boxes.
well, maybe this is my limited view of the world because I haven't traveled much of the world, but I would think that from back then versus now, I think we kind of like made leaps and bounds beyond racism. Everything right now is about class.
It's always been about
It's-
class.
Because if you, no matter what color you are, what if you're black, white, if you're Asian, Middle Eastern, I mean, if you got the ability to make people money, then they really don't care about that race shit. It's all about the green. If you can make them money, then that's all they care about. But
Right, right. But whether racism or classism, because there is no difference. Racism and classism are the same. You're looking at another group of people and thinking that you're better than them, or that they're better than you. So all I'm saying is this: if you're poor in America and you're poor in Paris, you're going to live the same poor life. If you're poor in Japan and you're poor in Australia, you're going to live a poor life.
mhm.
And the middle class and the rich people, they expect you to clean their houses, to work at McDonald's and do all the menial tasks that you didn't get your lazy butt out of and finish school to do better. And a lot of these school systems around the country and around the world are training people to work, not to be successful. And I've seen that. I mean, like I said, they got McDonald's in Paris. They got McDonald's in London. You got poor Londoners working in McDonald's in London, England, just like they do on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah. Let me share with you like what happened to me last weekend because I remember I told you that I was in Rosemont for the weekend, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so we was kind of celebrating my wife's friend's son's birthday. So um, I had to go to the mall so I could charge up my car because the hotel didn't have a charger, so I had to use a supercharger at the mall, right? Electric vehicle, so that's why I parked over there because on this first level there are no parking spots available. So I guess he was just circling around trying to find a parking spot. So
yeah.
once he saw that I was at the chargers, he assumed that my car wasn't electric for some reason. So I was like, dude, I have an electric vehicle. So then he started apologizing because I just knew that he assumed that I had like a regular car and I just wanted to park it just because it was some spots available. So
Oh,
I was like, I'm like, this about a bitch. He assumed that I was just parking dirty.
Well,
So I just thought it was kind of funny.
you know, so basically he was like a Ken.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
he was a Ken.
Yeah.
And man, I'm trying to stay. I'm trying to stay on track here. Um, let me go back to the Muslim thing real quick. Like in overseas, every place I've gone, you know, my name is like Johnny or George or Robert overseas. If you go to Turkey, my name is
Very
common.
common.
Yeah, it's common. But this is how I always got them though. Because first I was speaking English, and then they say, "Where are you from?" And I say, "Well, where you think I'm from?" And it's like, you from Turkey, you from, Jordan, you from hell, people used to think I was from Morocco.
Mm.
And I say I'm from the south side of Chicago. And they all be like, "What?" Just like the kid Jordan did. Like, for real? You from the south side of Chicago? Like, I
Now,
didn't even know, cuz I didn't even know, and I think I mentioned this before, but they got they have a nonstop flight from Jordan to Chicago every day of the week.
yeah, Jordania Airlines.
But a
Yeah.
lot of people from Jordan actually live on the north side of Chicago, and they go back and forth all the time.
Now, are you treated differently out there if you're American, regardless of what race you are?
Um, okay, so that's gonna be a two-part answer. When I was younger in rank and stupid and just going out and partying and doing, what I'm talking about, liberty.
Hmm.
Yeah, they didn't really like us too much. But as I got older, mature, and became a chief in the Navy and started going over there, um, after the experiences, you know, um, seeing people get killed and hurt or being locked up overseas. Yeah, well, when I went to Jordan, I mean, I was like 45 years old. Had been a chief for about 9 years, so it was a different experience. And then we had to wear suits. We had to wear suits every place we went. We didn't wear uniforms there.
Oh, okay. Actual suits. Okay.
We had to wear a suit every day for like 2 weeks there on a planning conference. But we actually wore suits, and we had guards outside the hotel, especially when the Jordanians showed up for conferences. Yeah, I mean they brought Humvees with all kind of weapons, and they'd be looking at me like, where are you from? Chicago. But then they see my name. It's like, well, blah blah blah. But I would say overall, the reason why they don't treat Americans too bad over there, depending on where you go, well, especially in the military. Like if you're military, they know not to mess with you because they're going to be held accountable if they mess with us.
Hmm.
Like a tourist, you got to go through their regular legal system. If you mess with the military folks, now you're going through their military justice system and legal system at the same time.
Okay.
So we have a little bit more protection, but you got other people who just don't care. You know,
Right.
there's I know people who have been killed overseas and kidnapped and killed overseas personally.
Now, I get the consensus that like yes, you wasn't like a big favor of doing the mission, but let's say any Muslim person growing up in a Muslim household, if they're not going to go to college, if they're not going to go in the military, do you think a like a mission trip for like 3, 4 years in the Middle East would that be beneficial for them?
Not right now.
Not now.
Nah, man, no, this is messed up. I mean, I would go to Jordan, but I wouldn't go to any of those other countries right now. They got all kind of problems over there. And then you got COVID going on too. Nah, This is not time. This is not the time. Look, I'll put it this way, and I want to do a challenge to my Ahmadi family in America.
Mm-hmm.
Give me your young men and let me put them in a room and tell them some of my stories. And I bet you they probably won't leave the mosque. So that's
Now,
how I can do my missionary work. Now I can
now,
tell about how I walked through the paths, the dark paths, and met wolves and ran with wolves, and why it's so important not to do that. So yeah, I can actually save a whole bunch of these young Muslim brothers and sisters because trust me, they don't want to go through what I've been through in my life. I got the scars.
okay, can any Muslim man or woman successfully have a mission trip in Dubai or Abu Dhabi?
I haven't been there either. I'll tell you
No.
what, I'll go do the research and come back and I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. Well,
Three
my perception of
places.
you said what?
I said I'm trying to go to both of those places. Those are on my list of
Okay.
places to visit.
Now, I never been there, but my perception of both places is that it's literally Las Vegas in the Middle East. So my thing is like, can you really have a religious missionary in like a highly in a highly I don't want to call it
Sinful.
sinful. Yeah, I don't
Look,
want to
look,
call it sinful.
hey, you know what? Hey, look, people call it what they call it. You know, some people call it sin and other people call it heaven. It all
Mhm.
depends on the individual, you know. But yes, you know what? I'm sure they have devout Muslims there. They have devout Muslims everywhere. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
but yeah, but
hey,
it's so much temptation there, and plus, like the women, they really don't operate in the same way that the women in Saudi Arabia will operate. You know, it's more liberal in Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
okay, all right. So before I forget this, let me tell you this. Um, you know, when they talk about liberal, I mean, I've had a lot of friends that have gone overseas. I've deployed thousands of sailors and Marines overseas. Okay,
Hmm.
thousands over the years. Every place has your little bootleg spot. You know, your little place where you can go get things. You know, even in Jordan, they had restaurants there that served alcohol, and then they had others that don't. Same thing in Turkey. Matter of fact, when I went to Turkey the first time, and I still got the leather jackets from it too. Um, there was a liquor store right next door to the mosque, right down the street, right next door to the leather shop. You know, the leather coat shop. They were
We're in
all,
Jordan.
huh?
In Jordan,
No, this was in Turkey.
um, I thought like the whole Middle East was like dry.
No, no. See, that's what people don't tell nobody. No, none of those countries are dry. Abu Dhabi ain't dry.
Yeah,
Dubai
yeah, yeah,
ain't
but
dry.
right,
No,
those
drink
two
alcohol.
spots are different, but everywhere else, I'm thinking that it's dry.
No, you can get alcohol in Saudi Arabia. They sell alcohol there.
But like, can like a common person just buy alcohol, or is it exclusive to like the princesses and the kings?
Okay, so you know it's funny that you said that too. I had an associate of mine that I sent to Saudi Arabia. Every year he would go there because they needed him, and he was telling me about all the American Village. So they got this one hospital, which is the best hospital in all of Saudi Arabia. All the princes and princesses, all the royalty people go there, and that's the reason why he was there. He used to make dental implants for people. So his job was pretty important. But he was like, man, we throw parties every night there. The only thing is in Saudi Arabia, you just can't. They just don't have liquor stores, and they don't have bars. But they have bars in Turkey. They have liquor stores in Turkey. They got them in Jordan. Hell, in Amman, Jordan, there's certain parts of the city where there's alcohol. The only thing I didn't see was any pork.
Yeah, mostly
Yeah, now,
people
now,
eat.
now it's funny. You can drink, but you can't get no pork there.
Yeah, it's mostly lamb and goat as far as like the main meats, right?
Yeah, lamb is like the number one. And they cook the whole lamb. I mean, from the head to the tail, and then break it down in little pieces, and then they get all this yogurt. I didn't really like the yogurt too much; it was really strong. But then I'm really not really a dairy person. But no, but you can go to almost any Islamic country and drink alcohol, especially if you're staying at a 5-star hotel. They got a bar in their hotels. Hell, we stayed at the I stayed at the Hyatt. I stayed at the Intercontinental, which was really nice. That was in Aqaba, which
Okay.
is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to in my life. Aqaba, Jordan. Matter of fact, you can see Israel, Jordan, and Egypt on a plateau. You can see all three countries at the same time.
Now, my time in the Middle East, now when I was in Kuwait, we only drank non-alcoholic beers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, but y'all were in controlled areas too.
Say it again.
I said y'all were in controlled areas too.
We were in a controlled area.
Yeah, I'm saying. I mean, y'all weren't just out on liberty, were y'all?
As long as we were in a 2 convoy vehicles, then we can go to Camp Doha to like make PX runs and get haircuts, whatever. But sometimes we're like going to Kuwait City if we have to go to the actual main airport and pick up a VIP.
Yeah.
We had Liberty in Kuwait maybe I think twice, but we didn't go there just to kind of like try to like go out and drink or anything. But I just knew that the whole entire 6 months I was out there, we had access to only non-alcoholic beers, and that was it.
Right.
So,
But like I said, but see, if you'd have been say in Kuwait, there's certain places in Kuwait where they serve alcohol out in town, and they man, I'm telling you, I think the number one place for people that asked me to send them to back in the day was Kuwait, because they were making a lot of money and they were able to drink and party, and hell, they were even throwing balls over there. It was like they would go get dressed up, like they would have tailors over there for them, and they get tailor-made clothes, and then they throw parties, and they all be wearing dresses and all, guys wearing nice suits and stuff, and it don't cost a lot over there. You can get a tailor. You know what? It's funny. The only place in America, the only place in the world you can't get a tailor-made suit for $100 or less is in America.
that you can't get one?
Yeah. Look, if you go to Japan, tailor-made suit, $100. You go to Australia, tailor-made suit, $100. You go to Jordan, tailor-made suit, $100. Matter of fact, I feel bad that I didn't get a couple tailor-made suits while I was there. I should have, because I was there long enough. Because they measure you one day, and they usually come back within a week, and they'll have your suit ready for you, and it fits.
Yeah, but the cost to make the suit plus the labor as far as getting it tailored for you is way cheaper out there versus out here.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, it makes sense. It makes
But
sense.
I'm just saying, like when I was in Okinawa, almost every guy I knew that wore clothes got at least 3 suits. I know one guy that bought one suit every month, and we was there for 6 months.
Wow.
And he's still probably rocking them too, because he really hasn't changed his. That was another reason why I didn't do it. I was really big back then, and I knew I was going to get smaller, so it wasn't. I'd have to get it refitted anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I was going to take. Oh no. Okay. So look, another reason why I didn't decide not to become a missionary. when the Jehovah Witnesses used to come in and knock on the door, I'd let them in, and I go make some tea. And I mean, because these are things I was taught by my father and by by the brothers. A lot of people don't know this about me, but my father, he was grooming me to become a missionary. And every
Why
time he would,
why you though?
I don't know, man. I was the oldest son. I was born at the mosque. You know, I was given a name by the caliph at the time when he joined. It was a lot of different things, but I and like I said, so I mean, like I used to go with him to Pittsburgh, to DC, to Dayton, Ohio, to Detroit, to St. Louis, and when them brothers be sitting there, powwowing, I'd be back there in the kitchen scrambling, eggs and making toast and making coffee and tea for these brothers.
Now,
I was
does
young.
missionary work also entail?
Like, look, I'm sorry. Look, and I was young. I wasn't even in high school yet, right? But I knew all the brothers for the entire movement in the United States at one time because I used to be around them so much. So, and they kept on, and they would always be saying, "Man, when you gonna? And when you sitting here to Pakistan, man?" They used to tell my father that, like, "Man, we talking about it." I mean,
Now, now, as far as Muslim brothers selling bean pies, is that them doing fundraising for like a certain cause? Like, would you have to sell bean pies doing missionary work?
okay, so that's Nation of Islam. That's not the Ahmadiyya movement.
Oh, okay.
Um, so no, we never did fundraising, um, but we did used to go out down on State Street. As a matter of fact, I remember exactly right in front of Foot Locker, and we used to pass out pamphlets to people, asking them to join, our movement. And you know that was another thing that kind of made me feel a certain type of way because we would give these pamphlets to people and ask them to read it, and they'd walk about 3 or 4 steps and just throw it on the ground. And it used to upset me because this is Arabic writing, you know, and this is something that we're trying to help people with, but they just treat it like a piece of garbage. And we didn't really grow in numbers as far as at the mosque. Like it wasn't like they started off with 10 people and now they got 1,000. They started off with 10 people and now they got 25.
In what time frame?
Maybe in the last 30 years. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that the numbers have not really gained. You know, actually some of the numbers have dwindled versus increasing. It's decreased, and a lot of it's because there was things that we wanted to do, you know, that we weren't allowed to do. And I mean, we're Americans, so it's not like we ain't trying to be Pakistanis.
Yeah, but
You
you
know,
got to keep in mind that like even back in the prior to the 1960s, I mean, black people were very religious, so religion kind of like kept us constrained as far as kept us with like some guidelines of some do's and don'ts. And past the 60s, where like liberalism kind of like ran rapid in the black community, people stopped going to church and more free love sex. So that's why, fast forward to today, that's why people not really like attaching themselves onto a certain religion per se.
yeah. Well, and then and this is my view. Okay, I can only speak for myself.
Hmm.
I find it very peculiar that we're found a religion or religions that are thousands of years old. And this earth has evolved. From the first person that was created or was put here. Who knows how people got on here or any animals, especially after they talk about the ice age. Like, I mean, we have so many species on this planet right now. In my humble belief, I believe that they're brought here in meteors because they come in. I mean, this Earth gets hit by meteors every day, and yet we have the most technology that we've ever had, but we still are finding fish and other species out in the wild that we've never even known to exist. Who's to say it just didn't come here?
It's a
You
big
don't
ass
know.
ocean.
Right. It is a big ocean, but space is even bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And they all look like aliens. I mean, if you look at an alien movie, what do they look like? What they started making them look like first? Fish. Remember the Frog Man? Or it was the Dragon Man or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they made it look like they came out of the sea. Matter of fact, remember I think this movie, the monster that came from the sea.
Mm-hmm.
So and they made all these space movies about aliens coming from outer space. But all I know is um, I know a lot of people use religion for their own personal benefit, and that's one thing I will never do is try to use religion for my own personal benefit because it's not my benefit. You know, we're all humans on this earth,
So
and
what's a benefit for a greater cause for a greater community instead of having this individualistic mindset?
I think if you got rid of religion, period, and you would just have people who would just say, you know what, we're going to tolerate whatever you want for the accept of of course, criminal acts. And when I say criminal acts, I'm talking, murder, incest, rape.
Society is like that right now. I mean, everything goes except for those specific crimes. I mean,
Right,
that's what it seems like to me.
right. But when you take the religious part of it, I mean, look at the Catholic Church. They just paid off a bunch of men millions of dollars of hush money, so that all these so-called religious priests who have raped these men over you know decades. Actually, it's been centuries though. You
Yeah,
know,
scandals like that happen all the time. Look at the U.S. gymnastics team, in which it was like a $350 million settlement
yeah.
that went to the victims.
And see, that's the part of society that I think needs to change. This religion stuff is okay, but make people accountable for their actions. You know,
Oh, okay. It's instead of just using money as a band-aid,
I
make
mean,
make prison time the ultimate punishment instead of just using hush money per se, right?
or in some forms, death. You know,
I mean, it has to fit the crime, though. I mean, you can't just
no,
be killing people just be
no,
killing.
and kill everybody. No, but okay, all right. So, and I'm glad we just had this little discussion here. Let me tell you a story. When I was in Okinawa, Japan, I was an EMT at Camp Swab for a couple months because nobody else was an EMT. So I got the job by default, but I was glad I got that job.
Mm-hmm.
While I was in Okinawa, they had a man who they had an army captain who was driving his motorcycle while he was drunk, and he hit another car. He died, and so did the one of the people in the car. And I had to go pick his body up and take it down to the hospital. That's the only reason why I know this, because I was part of that process. So
Mm-hmm.
when I got down there, the NCIS agent said that he was lucky that he died because in Japanese culture, if you kill another family member, you have to go to their house and get on your knees like Muslims do when they pray to Mecca, and you have to beg that family's forgiveness for killing their family member, and then you have a life debt to that family. I don't know how much money it is, but they have to pay a fine every month until they die. That's how seriously they take their crimes in Japan.
That's regardless if he leaves the island or not.
Oh, you ain't leaving the island?
Or he had to live there forever. He would
Look,
have
they
had
got
to live there forever.
look, they got a they have a Marine right now that's in prison there. It's been in prison before I got there for being accused of rape. And he's still in prison.
Mm.
Just being accused. No DNA evidence because he see, it's funny. I was on a morning talk show a couple weeks ago, and it just so happened that one of these missionaries that I knew as a young man, he's still a missionary, and he was on there. And when I told him my name, he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you out there." So, but I, but we were talking about respect, right? Because a lot of people have lost respect for other people. And I said, it's funny. Let me tell you something about respect. I said, what's the difference between cows in China and cows in Chicago? Got kind of quiet. I said, no one's going to know. I said, so I'll just tell you, there is no difference. They eat the same hay and they shit the same bullshit. And I say this to say that when somebody's walking up on you sideways like a crab, most of the time, especially if you got some street smarts.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
it's the same thing with people with religion. When somebody just wants you to come, down to the church so you can put some money in the pool, in the collection plate. And I've heard, and I tell
Yeah,
you,
but that's in the
man,
name of God, though.
but that's what. Okay, in the name of God, they counting that money and taking it to a bank somewhere. They
Tangible, right?
they,
Tangible resources.
they be sitting there counting that money. Look, matter of fact, it's so funny. And I'm not judging. I'm just telling a story here, okay? I remember when Aunt Willa asked us to all go to a Thanksgiving uh, church service with her some years ago, and I didn't really want to go, but I went. I mean, that's Aunt Willa, you know what I'm saying? Plus, I respect other people's, beliefs and everything else. And she was happy, so and I'll do anything to make her happy. I think we all are like that. She's one of the few people on the planet that anybody would do anything to make her happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I had to do this church for a couple hours on Thanksgiving, and
Doing a football game, right?
no, it was before the football game.
Oh, okay.
Because we went back to the house and watched the football game and ate dinner after we went to this church service.
Okay.
And so we're sitting in this pew, and I'm like, man, I forgot to stop at the ATM. Because I show some respect. I put $5 in the plate, something, $5, $10, whatever. Now I ain't got no money, so now I'm kind of, I'm not embarrassed, but I'm like, wow, I wasn't prepared. But then the minister gets up. Well, let me back up. So as we're walking into the church, that pastor, he parks on the sidewalk right in front of the stairs.
Mm-hmm.
So here I'm pulling in, I pull up, and I had to walk in the street, and it was snow on the ground too. I had to walk in the street on some snow just to walk around his car in order to get into the church. So, and I'm telling you a story because the reason why I'm not religious, as far as like religion. So we're sitting there, and me and my brother and sister are sitting there, and he's trying to get everybody all riled up and up and dancing and clapping and stuff. And I mean, the way we were raised, you sit on the floor.
Yeah.
There's no praising or anything else.
Yeah.
It's very quiet. You listen to a speech. No one says anything, and then you get up and say your prayers and leave out. So we're sitting there, and this guy is looking at us like, I'm gonna get them to stand up before this service is over. We never got up. He got so long with it. He's like, you know what? It's time for us to all go back home and enjoy our Thanksgiving meal. I said, Amen. We all got up out of there. But I'm saying it was like, I mean, I've been around so many different religions, just travels, talking to people because I love talking to people. And it was a Jewish man from Jerusalem that told me about the real story of Moses and how the Red Sea parted, the real version. And it's
Mhm.
funny because I saw this. It's not a phenomenon. It's a scientific fact. They're called ebb tides, EBBS tides, and the moon shifts the ocean when it rotates around the Earth, and it makes these currents or ebb tides, also known as tsunamis. And tsunami is just an ebb tide that shows up unannounced because of some other phenomenons. But there are places in the world where the water just disappears at night or sometimes during the day, and then when it shifts, the water comes back. And I'm talking miles. And that's what happened during the Red Sea. Moses knew when the ebb tide was going to go out to sea, and when they crossed, by the time they crossed, it was coming back in, and that's what killed Pharaoh and his people. But they
So
want to make like the Charleston Heston version or the Walt Disney version where these walls of water were just they were just walking looking at whales and sharks and stuff. Man, it wasn't like that. You know, so so now you have brainwashed all these poor children to think that actually really happened. And you know what? Most of those kids believe it.
we all assume that Moses did this and the seas
Right.
parted, right?
That happened.
Okay.
He, he, look,
I
he,
learn
he
something new every day.
look, he used the lunar gravity of the moon, and knowing science, they said when he stuck his staff in there, it was just to make sure that the water wasn't in there because it was dark. And
Oh
in
man,
the
man.
last, look, in the last movie, they even turned Moses into a warrior, you know, that had this twin sword with his not really brother, but his but he was adopted or whatever you want to call it. But they showed the swords, and now he's like throwing a sword in there. He didn't even use a staff; he just threw a sword in there. And after the water went down, he could see his sword. Then they started walking across.
Now this is called a ebb tide. Can you spell it again?
Yeah, EBBS, EBS,
Okay.
the
Okay.
ebb.
All right. I will YouTube this after we get off just to kind of get a better context of how it will look. So, but yeah, man. Yeah, that's interesting history. Yeah, I never even knew that. So yeah, the way that the story is always told to, especially black people. Moses parted the sea, so that way, some people can walk across and be saved or whatever. But yeah,
Well,
man,
you
that's
know what?
interesting.
When I went to Jerusalem, they told us a real story about Jesus too. And when they took us to some of those churches, most of the people that are in the statues, they're black. I've seen it with my own eyes.
You know what? I have a question for you. I was never privy to this information, but is there a burial place right now that exists of Jesus Christ?
Yes,
Where is it?
Kashmir, India.
Okay, an actual burial site where's actual.
Sorry, so Kashmir right now it's a battleground between Pakistan and India that's been going on for I think over 100 years.
Okay.
So they actually still fight each other. They do artillery rounds and all that other stuff, and yeah, they kill each other. But the area that's referring to is called Kashmir, and that's where it is said that after Jesus didn't die on the cross, that he traveled and ended up in India.
Okay. So he did down the cross. Boy, okay. Now I'm kind of confused. So,
Okay, all right. Well, confusion is part of life.
right. Supposedly he died on the cross, right? And then what, 2 days later, he risen. And after he risen, what's the story beyond that as far as Jesus Christ?
Okay, so for Muslims, or many Muslims, not all Muslims, Muslims believe that Jesus um, was taken off the cross. He was put into the sepulcher, which was like a grave, and supposedly he rose. But really, what happened was his disciples came and rescued him, and then he escaped Palestine, not Israel. You know, back then it was Palestine. Hell, it's still Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, he fled Palestine, and he traveled through Persia, which is now India. And they said that he settled in Kashmir, and he lived to be 120 years old. And there's actually um, there is scientific proof that supports that theory.
Okay. So, what is the explanation of him turning water into wine? Any idea?
That I don't know,
No.
but I will tell you that it's similar to when they talked about how Moses turned the the river into blood, and
Mm.
it wasn't blood. It was the mud underneath the river that that made the color turn that, because there was so much disruption going on that it just all you know, like you ever been to a river that's so nasty looking, there's no way you was gonna get in there.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Well, if you come down south, we got red dirt down here. We don't have, black dirt down in the south. We got red dirt. And some people back in the day, now actually some people still do it. They still take some of that dirt and make it into pies, and they eat it for its mineral content.
So, so really, the dirt down south is kind of clean. It has nutrients in it, right?
Oh yeah, man. I mean, that's why they can grow certain things here that they can't grow up there, and also, the weather too. Yeah, I mean, like the dirt here is red clay dirt. It's
Dirt
high
up
with.
north, dirt up north is damn near like waste, but dirt down south it has nutrients in it. Oh
Yeah, it
yeah.
does. It has a lot of nutrients in it, and that's why. I mean, like I said, that's why they can grow so many things.
Mm, wow.
I mean, they can grow all kind of stuff in Georgia that they can't grow in Illinois.
Well, I mean, is there maybe like a huge factor is that there's consistent weather all year round in Georgia versus up here because we got 4 seasons.
Yeah,
Could that be a
that,
factor?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that does.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
But
I think our major crop up here is probably what, corn.
yeah, and down here it's
I think you can grow corn anywhere, but specifically down south, where they grow oranges and peaches and bananas, and I mean any type of tropical fruit has to be grown closer to the equator.
so the bananas. Most bananas come from overseas. There's not too many places in the United States that grows bananas.
Like in Mexico, like
Right,
closer to the equator is where it has to be grown at.
right. But I'm saying, but they don't grow. bananas in America. That most of them are all imported.
Right, right, right.
But like in Georgia, you know, shoot, man, they go all the way out. If you go all the way to the border, it starts with nuts, like peanuts, and then they got pecan trees, and they got a lot of walnut trees here, and then they got another part where they do peaches, and then another part where they grow a lot of I think cherries. It's all kind. I mean, it's funny. I was at the Braves. I was at the Battery when the Braves won the pennant to go to the World Series, and I was sitting there talking to some people, and they were from another part of Georgia, I think Augusta, and they said all they make there is peach jelly and preserves, like for Smuckers.
No, interesting.
And like the whole town is nothing but like a big old cannery for peaches and stuff.
Mm.
And it was something else. But but getting back on the topic at hand. So, every place I've ever been, I always went and talked to the religious people there and asked them questions because most Americans haven't been nowhere. So, they listen to all these stories about stuff, but they haven't gone to the sources and they haven't talked to the people there. You know, to be honest with you, most Muslim people that I've met, they don't want to be Muslims. They're trying to get the hell up out of there
Oh, from the
because,
Middle East.
yeah, because they feel oppressed. People tell them, look, nobody wants nobody telling them what to do. Period. But you got some people who are more influential and can tell people to do things and they'll just do it. You
Well,
know,
you got America. That's that beacon of hope, that beacon of freedom, and we have a democracy, so that's what people want to strive to like be. I mean, to me, the grass is not always green on the other side. I mean, America got so many issues, but I wish that we had more structure as more communist nations. Because like people need structure, man. I mean, it seems like there's a trade off when it comes to freedom. Freedom ain't free.
it's not.
So if you make bad decisions, especially early in life, it's definitely going to cost you later in life.
Oh,
So
absolutely. You know,
like people need to be confined in a more strict upbringing, and today, obviously with the whole kids growing up in dysfunctional households, that's going to cost them later in life because they don't got the necessary yin and yang, the masculine and feminine in the household.
right.
So if you're going to be missing one of those, then it's definitely going to show up in personality markers later on in life. So yeah, man. I mean,
Hey,
freedom ain't.
hey, hey, you know what? Let me just add to that. A lot of people just don't understand that what you do to your children when they're younger affects their whole entire life. And with me growing up as a Muslim, see, they used to tell us about how they'll cut your hand off if you steal.
Now, do
And
some countries still do that today?
yes, yes, they still do it. But
Wow.
guess what? They don't have all. Look, I saw a video. I don't know if I still got it, but I saw a video, okay, of 5 boys who had raped a girl in Saudi Arabia. DNA, everything. They knew that these boys did this, and they put them in orange jumpsuits, and they lined them up, and they unhandcuffed one and started pushing them towards the executor. And this guy, just like in the real movies, had this big old sword, the one that gets longer and wider as it goes, and took that dude head off. Sat there and swang it, cut his head off.
Mm.
somebody rape one of my daughters, I would want to cut his head off.
Now, how old were these boys?
15, 16 years old. Raped
Oh,
the little look, they raped a 13-year-old girl who was also had, disabilities.
mm-hmm.
So they took advantage of a girl that couldn't even fight back.
Right,
But
right.
but but someone either walked in and saw what was something happened. But I'm telling you, they took their heads off. Now, you tell me, if you in a line and it's you and your boys, and I know your boys, which one, and you about to get executed for this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's you and your boys, so it's four of y'all. Are you going to be the one in the front or the one in the back?
Like if I was accused,
No, you finna get executed.
I mean,
Look,
does it
you
really
look.
matter?
Yes, it matters. Of course, it matters. I'm finna tell you why.
Okay.
Will be the first one. I ain't finna sit there and let them cut three of my friends' heads off, and I'm gonna sit there and watch it, knowing I'm next. That's the torture right there. You might as well just get it over with it. Be the first one, because all the rest of them gonna be suffering more than you. You
Yeah,
already did.
yeah, but they only suffering for what, 2 minutes?
Look, they have a saying that there's a saying that the fear of death is worse than death itself. It's just like being. It's like, you know what? It's like being. You finna go get in an electric chair. I'd rather take the sword to the head than an electric chair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at least the sword. Just, I mean, once your spinal cord gets cut off, that's it. You ain't feeling no pain. But those countries over there that these so-called Western countries don't like, they don't like it because a lot of their hands will be cut off. That's why they don't like that law. Every politician in America will have their right hand cut off for stealing. That's why they don't like those Islamic laws. They
Mm-hmm.
hung Saddam Hussein. They hung him in a public square, well, in a private public square. They hung him by his neck. But they taunted him for hours and for days before they killed him. That was the torture.
Mm-hmm.
Muammar Gaddafi, same thing. His people tortured him before they killed him.
Yeah, he was getting probed and shit.
Bro, they tortured him.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
I
The
actually they was probing him with swords.
Yes, that's what
Yeah,
I'm trying to tell
yeah,
you. Look,
yeah.
just cut off my head, man, and look. Look. You can't stop it. You got handcuffs on. You in an orange jumpsuit, and they finna cut your head off. I am not gonna see my homeboys get their head cut off before mine. They're gonna watch me get my head cut off first, because I'm not finna go through that torture. That's like seeing my best friend getting his head cut off. I don't want to see my best friend's head cut off, and then I'm next. Nah, bro, I'm going. Look, me and Neil will be fighting each other, trying to see which one's gonna get cut off first. That's how much we love each other.
I mean, y'all might as well just fight each other to death then.
Nah, I ain't doing that. No, man, I can't do that.
No, well,
But I want the
it
sword
was just a
first,
figure of speech, man.
huh?
It was just a figure of speech.
I know. I'm just, I'm joking. But look, look. Give me the first. Look, give me the first. I'll be the first one to go.
Yeah. Hey, man. On that note, it's getting late. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm, hey, I'm feeling this shot, and hey, man, tomorrow's my birthday, and
Oh
I
yeah,
plan
right.
on. Oh, thanks, man. Turning 41, so I'm planning on going to the shooting range. I'm gonna try out this other one that like people was telling me about. So I still got to break in both my weapons. Right now, I got 100 rounds through each one of them, so I need to season both of them like a little bit more.
Yeah. You gotta put a little bit more gunpowder through the pipe.
Oh yeah, of course, man. So, but yeah, man. So that's the only thing I got going early tomorrow morning. But other than that, the wife and I got dinner at some sushi spot. literally maybe 20 minutes away out the 55. So yeah, man, I'm just gonna try to take it easy, man. I'm probably not gonna work out because I don't want to overexert myself from getting a flu shot and this booster shot. So, but yeah, I'm gonna take it easy as far as working out at least until maybe Friday or Saturday. But yeah, man, I'm gonna try to enjoy myself, man, and just relax. The kids gonna be in school, so yeah,
Dope.
man, yeah, I'm gonna chill tomorrow, man.
Well,
So
look, hey, I appreciate letting me tell this particular story because I don't think my child. Well, I know my children didn't know about me almost becoming a missionary because I
mhm.
never told them.
All right. Hey, man, it was a pleasure, man. I mean, I like to hear old stories from you, man. I mean, hey, you're like 2 years older than me, so every time you like start, just like telling stories, man. I mean, I got a front row seat, man, so I just like to listen.
All right, cool, man. Hey, I'm gonna keep on telling them too, man. You know, man, I've been so many places. And this so many things. I tell people all the time, man. I feel like Forrest Gump.
He been everywhere.
He's been looking at everything, and I
Yeah.
feel like Forrest Gump. So
Hmm.
these just my boyhead stories.
Yeah. Cool, man. Hey,
All right.
tell the wife, I said hello, man, and yeah, tell the you call him your actual son, right?
Well, okay. So I refer to them as bonus children.
Okay, okay. Well, I tell the
Which
bonus son.
too, and you know what? I like that word because it sounds a lot better than stepchild.
Right. Okay. I tell the
Yeah.
wife, I said hello. Tell the bonus son, I said hello. To everybody else, I said hello. And y'all enjoy the rest of y'all night, man. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Peace out, man. Enjoy your birthday.
All right, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Love you, man.
All right,
Peace.
I love you. Peace.